What is going on, everybody, and welcome to another top 5. Today we're going to be going over another top 5 games that I played as a kid, and we're about to go down some memory lane for Croft TV today, so stay tuned. Let's get right into this.
Number 1.
Alright, so the first game we're going to go over today is Lemmings. I personally played it on the Super Nintendo, but it was actually first released in 1991 on the Amiga 500. Later it was released to other consoles, and as I said, that's where I played it. I played it right on the Super Nintendo, and it was so much fun. I can remember just sitting in my room for hours. I think it was before I actually started school, so I mean I was in there all day long just playing this game. I really didn't get the concept of it. No one really showed me how to play it. I just kind of picked it up and started playing and trying to figure it out. And I'd get stuck on the different puzzle maps and stuff like that. But basically, it's just a puzzle platformer game where you're helping the lemmings get from one side of the map to the other, and you get like different tools while you're doing this, and it's just so much fun. You just assign the tools to the different lemmings. They'll do different things like dig down through the ground to get to the next level, or you have to have people that block so that your other lemmings don't run off the edge, which is where I got stuck on this gameplay here, and it's just a blast to play. So I mean, you really do have to think. It is, like I said, a puzzle platformer, so you are trying to solve these puzzles as you go along, and it does consistently get harder and harder as you go. But all in all, I mean, you could just sit down, relax, spend hours in front of the TV playing with this, and it really never loses its joy. So I definitely suggest picking it up for any of the consoles it was released for. Super Nintendo was a lot of fun. I've never tried it on any of the other consoles. The Amiga 500 sounds like it'd be a blast though, because you had to have like a little mouse or however that worked. But all in all, fantastic game. Definitely suggest it.
Number 2.
Next up on our list is Contra 3. Oh my god, I played this game so much when I was younger, and I really never got that far. I don't think I personally ever got past level 2, and even to this day I don't think I've gotten past level 2. I don't have the physical copy, but I do have it on the Super Nintendo Classic, where I definitely take advantage of the save states, and I have not gotten past stage 2 yet. Just not very good with those kind of games, but still so much fun. I will continue playing it. I will continue trying to beat it for sure, but it's just a very hard but very, very fun game. It came out on February 28th, 1992, and it was for the Super Nintendo. As I said, I can remember just spending hours in my room playing this game, getting mad at it because it's so hard. I never really used the cheats for it, so I never had that going for me, but you know, you basically go through, you start at the beginning of the level, so you do pick up power-ups for your gun, and as you go through, if you do get hit, you do lose the power-up. You can get hit 3 times before you know, going back to the beginning, and eventually you do get sent back right to the beginning of the game, so you got to start all over again. So it's definitely not a very easy game, but lots of fun. You know, as you're going through, you pick up bombs that you can use to kind of weaken the end boss, or if you're stuck in a sticky situation with tons of people coming at you, you can use the bomb, destroys them all. You know, and as I said, I never really got past stage 2, so at the beginning you're kind of running through side, it's like a side scroller, you're running through and you're kind of shooting the enemies, and then in stage 2 it's an overtop view, which I wasn't able to capture, but it was definitely harder than the beginning. I did watch some gameplay of later on in the game. I don't want to watch too much because I do want to finish it, but I guess at one point you do get to ride a motorcycle where you're shooting at a helicopter, so looking forward to playing that one. Definitely a must-have for the Super Nintendo though. The game's kind of steep in price, but pick yourself up a Super Nintendo Classic and go to town. Definitely a fun game and definitely recommended for the Super Nintendo.
Number 3.
Alright, so we've made it to number 3, and number 3 is Pokemon Snap. I never personally owned it, but my cousin owned it, and I can remember going over there all the time, just sitting in their computer room, playing it, all the other kids playing around me, and I'm just sitting there playing Pokemon Snap, trying to get further. Fantastic game, and so glad that I was able to play it for this video. I actually got caught up in it and almost got to the last level. I did save it, so I probably will go back and play it. I recorded the whole thing, so maybe I'll record the end and put it up on the channel. But Definitely a fun game. Basically, it's a rail shooter, and you're going through, you're trying to take pictures of the Pokemon, and then at the end, you can kind of get to choose what Pokemon pictures you want to use to present to Professor Oak. If you say you go through and you take a picture of Pikachu, and then later on you get a better picture of Pikachu, you can kind of submit that, and they put the two up next to each other and see which one's better. Speaking of Pikachu, there's so many different types of Pikachu poses that you can get in the game. So once you get your first one, there'll be plenty more like flying Pikachu, surfing Pikachu, all of that in there that you can take pictures of. But just a blast to play and really easy to get sucked right into it. They made it easy to go through the first level, kind of get done what you need to do, learn how to play the game, and then push you right onto the next level. To get on to other levels, like certain levels, you have to do certain things in the level to kind of open the extra door that you would normally float by or go by. So just a lot of fun, and it's Pokemon, so it's always going to be fun. But I definitely suggest picking that up. It's for the N64, and definitely a fun game. Back in the 90s, actually, at like local game stores, GameStops, stuff like that, you could take your cartridge in there, and then they'd have a machine where you just plug the N64 cartridge right into the machine and kind of go through your pictures that you took, and you could print those out and take them home in like a little film strip. So definitely really, really cool, and they did a lot of really cool things with that game. A lot of cool things with all the Pokemon games, really, as far as like in-life things that you could do with your Pokemon, trying to make Pokemon as real as possible, and I know to a lot of us it is real. So, so definitely a game that I suggest picking up, Pokemon Snap for N64.
Number 4.
So next up is Counter-Strike. Definitely a fun game, and a game that took hours of my life. It was really the main game that pushed me into PC gaming. I didn't play a lot of games on the PC that were like big games, I guess you could say. I played Counter-Strike, then I kind of moved into like playing online mini games, like stick figure games and stuff like that. And then I moved into another one that you'll see later on down the line. But Counter-Strike was just that staple game that got me into PC gaming. It's basically a first-person shooter, and the one I played, they came out with Counter-Strike Source at one point, and that's when I stopped playing. But Counter-Strike was just an amazing game. The graphics were not that good. The gameplay wasn't all that great. I got to go back and play it a little bit for this video, and I had a blast, don't get me wrong, but after playing things like Call of Duty, definitely inferior for sure. All around a fun game though, and it's really one that you could bond with people. It was really one of the first games that I played that had like a little chat box where you could chat together with your team, and then we also did like a team speak kind of thing. I can remember the way that I played, which was a little odd, is I'd have a controller in this hand, and then I'd be using my mouse with this hand, and that's kind of how I went through and did my thing. And just so many hours spent on it, so many bonding moments between me and my dad, my uncle, my cousins. We just spent so much time playing that game. My dad and uncle actually had their own clan, and we would have like clan matches where we'd go up against other clans. And I can remember the one time we actually hosted the server that we were doing the clan matches on that night, and we were running at perfect FPS. We had perfect gameplay, and needless to say, we won every single match that night. Definitely a fun game, a lot of quirks, but quirks that made it fun, you know what I mean? Things that where you could, like, when you were dead, you could fly around in spectator mode, see the different things that the developers put in. Just really, really, really cool. Definitely a fun game, and one that's super old, but a lot of people still play. So if you're interested, it's Counter-Strike, and it would be patch 1.6. That's the one that you've seen in this video, and you could just go download it from the web. Just go to Google, type in Counter-Strike 1.6, download it from one of the links there, and be careful downloading it, of course. But it's a free game, and there's tons of people still playing it. So definitely still a fun game today.
Number 5.
Alright, so last but certainly not least, World of Warcraft. This game was released back in 2004. And I believe the first time I started playing it was probably around 2007, 2008, and I played it on and off ever since. Back in 2014, I got really big back into it, played it for countless and countless hours, you know, and it was a lot of fun. We'd have LAN parties. My buddy Ben would come over. We'd all kind of hang out, me and my wife, my brother-in-law, my buddy Ben. We'd all just hang out, play WoW for hours and hours, stay up for days and days at a time. And then I kind of slowed down, stopped playing it for a while. And then I went back into it because they released the original version again, which is vanilla, but they released it as World of Warcraft Classic. And I went back into that, started logging countless hours again, and realized that it was just taking up so much time. I wasn't getting any work done, and it was just one of those games where you would think you'd want to sign in for an hour and play for a little bit, and then it's 7 hours later. So it's one of those games where I had to drop it. Another reason is it's $15 a month. So, you know, you cut that out, and that's, you know, if my wife and I were both playing, it's $30 a month, so that's pretty steep to play a game, especially one that takes up all your time, so you barely work. But still an amazing, amazing game. They definitely took something and made a virtual world where you could go live, and I mean, you're able to talk to other people and you know, go on quests and level up and find mounts and do this and do that. There's just so much to do. It is classified as an MMORPG, and if that's what you're into, I definitely suggest checking it out. The fighting style is like no other game that I've ever played. Even the way you walk is the way that your body moves in the game and do different things in the game. I really haven't found a game that competes with that kind of gameplay, and I mean, it just keeps getting better and better, you know. They have had 7 expansions since the original release, and then obviously Classic, which released later last year, and they're actually working on their next expansion now, Shadowlands. So if you're into that kind of game, MMORPG with incredible, you know, graphics and fighting and anything, all the battles, it's absolutely amazing. Definitely check out World of Warcraft. As I said, it is $15 a month. They do have different subscription plans, but that's if you're paying per month, $15. And just a blast to play. But be careful, because it will steal a lot of your time. Well, thank you guys for taking this little walk down memory lane with me. I mean, these games were really just a staple of what I played when I grew up, or as I was growing up, and you know, which really paved the way of what I did in life, to be honest. I mean, video games were a big part of my life, as many kids when they're growing up, and I mean, as I mentioned before, going from console gaming to PC gaming, with Counter-Strike being that initial in, and kind of changing my direction on where I went with playing different video games. This really was a fun video to make, and I really appreciate you guys coming on this little adventure with me. Thank you guys so much for all the encouragement and all the support that you guys give me. Thank you for checking out these videos and coming to hang out with me, and thank you for checking out my Instagram and you know, leaving messages and comments and you know, liking my stuff. I love seeing your guys' stuff. I mean, there's so many great artists on Instagram, and you know, so many great accounts, so many great posts that go on there, and I just appreciate everything that everyone does. So thank you so much. You guys are wonderful, and we will see you in the next video.